Hi, Nicholas Santy coming back at you once again. You've seen me from some of the past videos. Today we're going to be talking about our frontline attack fire engine, Engine 3. We got this truck back in 2006. It's a 2005 Kenworth T-Series crew cab pumper with Pierce bodywork on the back. Some of the technical specifications behind it for the guys kind of nerds with like the numbers. Our pump is capable of pumping 1,250 gallons a minute, and our tank carries 1,000 gallons of water. So roughly it takes about 40 to 50 seconds for us to drain a tank before we have to get hydrant water going and refill our tank. So we're going to start kind of at the beginning of the alphabet and show you guys the cab of the truck. Most people, when they picture a fire truck, they picture that flat nose kind of city style fire truck. Those still exist, but we buy commercial cab chassis just because it's more intuitive to drive. It's more like driving a pickup, in concept like driving a big rig or a pickup truck, rather than having to sit, you're almost sitting on the axle of a flat nose fire truck. So we'll have Phil come in and get a real good look here. Actually, I'll turn the batteries on in a second so we get some light. This is the driver's position of the cab. We do leave the lights on, as you can kind of see in the background, so we can pull out of the building a little bit quicker. The chauffeur of the fire apparatus, so the driver, his main job is to get you there safely. Yeah, and if we're going to a structure fire or a car fire or something that's burning, his job is to get water. On the console, there's a yellow switch. We call it the road to pump. It's a pneumatic switch that allows the chauffeur to take the truck from pump gear, from road gear to drive, and transfer the power from the transmission into the pump. Moving backwards, we'll get into the rear portion of the cab.
Nick, can you run the siren for us? We
siren?
love to hear the siren.
Okay, we'll do the air horn too for you.
All right, perfect. We love that. Thanks, Nick. That was loud.
Yes, it was. My ears hurt.
Me too.
All right, so moving on, we'll have Phil come and we'll take a look in the rear of the cab. Our Engine 3 is set up with seating for 5 people. The chauffeur or the driver, 3 firefighters in the back, or in an officer up front. We'll talk about what the officer does when we get to his seat. But as you can see with all of our seats, they're set up for kind of speed. We put our gear on before we get on the truck, fasten our seat belts, and while we're going to a fire or going to an incident, we can actually put our breathing apparatus on, as you guys saw in the previous video, so that when we're stepping off the truck, we're ready to go to work. So now we've pulled up to the fire. Now we need to get water on the fire. We have 2 sets of pre-connected hose that we call cross lays. They're 1 3/4 in diameter, and when properly pumped through the nozzles we have on our lines, they can flow roughly 150 to 160 gallons a minute. So all these levers on all these discharges, this is how we decide where we're going to send our water and how. We can adjust the throttle, adjust the pressure that's going out. And this big intake here is when we finally do get a chance to hook up to a fire hydrant, which may be the guys coming in on the next engine behind us. They're the ones doing that work for us. When we finally hook in, now we have a hard water supply. We're not relying upon our tank water. So generally speaking, when the guys in back, we pull up on a fire, they grab one of these cross lays, they go to the door, and they start masking up and getting the hose ready to go. We're going to demonstrate that in a later video. Moving on, we do carry a lot of equipment on these trucks. This compartment here is known as the engineer's or the chauffeur's compartment. Here, the short answer to what's in this is it's a lot of extra fittings, so you can adapt to different size hoses and put new nozzles on. Pretty much anything the guy running the pump panel would need to help the guys inside fighting a fire. Our fire department response is largely a call company response. Some people will come on the utility if they don't make an apparatus, and we have spare Scott pack cylinders and spare Scott packs. because we don't carry Scott packs on our utility truck. So they'll come off the utility truck, grab a pack, and go to work. And back in this compartment, this is more of a hand tool compartment. We have closet hooks for pulling ceilings in tight spaces, a couple different variants of axes, and a pry tool known as a Halligan that's specially designed for a fire service. We can actually go over the history and the use of a Halligan combined with an axe in a later video. We'll see if we can get a door frame we can bust up. Down here, this large blue thing, this is our portable generator. We do have some electrical tools on our apparatus and some auxiliary lighting we power with the generator. And then on the same tray, we have a water and foam air-powered extinguisher. It's pressurized through an air compressor. We just squeeze a lever, it expels the water. Behind that, we have a general purpose ABC fire extinguisher. So moving to the back of the fire truck, up top is what we call our hose bed. This is where all the water supply happens. Moving from kind of the driver's side to the officer's side. The yellow hose is our 2.5-inch supply line. It's pre-connected to a nozzle. Excuse me, guys. We have to go on a response.
Just like that, we're headed out. Talk to you later. Go.
All right. So Nick Santy again. After a brief departure for an emergency response, that kind of highlights just how unpredictable our job is. We might be a fairly low volume department, responding to approximately 800 fire and EMS responses a year, but nonetheless, the job is just as unpredictable as any of the other busier departments. It's a bit of a fire department response, no real hazard to speak of. We're able to get back real quick, so let's finish our tour. Before we left, we talked about the hose bed and the various hoses we carry up here. So as I was mentioning before, this is our 2.5-inch attack line, capable of flowing about 250 gallons a minute. We use that really for larger fires that we can't really effectively put out with the smaller hose you saw up at the front of the truck. The white hose is also 2.5-inch hose capable of flowing 250 gallons a minute, but that's more of a supply line. You can't see it from here, but up on top of the hose bed, we have what we call our garden apartment lay. Other departments may call it a high-rise pack, but it's two sections of inch and 3/4 hose that we can use, drag it with a supply line to more of a remote location that might be out of reach of our cross lays, which are about 200 feet each. This red kind of rubbery hose, that's what's known as our supply hose. It's about 4 inches in diameter. We carry about 1,000 feet of it, and it's capable of flowing about 1,000 gallons a minute that we hook directly into from the hydrant into our pumps. And Phil's giving you a really good view of the top of our hose bed here. So you can see it's pretty well packed in. Again, the yellow stuff is kind of an attack line for large fires. The white stuff with the high-rise pack or the apartment lay is for kind of remote fires. Behind this compartment here, not a lot of stuff in here. This large red object is a large ventilation fan, so if you have a building that's smoked up, we can use that to push the smoke out. Kind of a shovel to clean out really anything that's burning. Various chainsaw equipment, collapsible cones, and kind of a chimney fire kit. A set of chains, and then an extension cord. So coming in, we're going to look at what we would call the officer side or the passenger side of the truck. In this compartment down here, we carry a spare hose line. Again, it's something we can drag into a remote location, hook into a standpipe, or even just use to wash down kind of debris at a car accident. Chimney box in the back. This red box here with the fitting. I'm not going to pull it out, but that's what we call a hydrant box. If you look at a fire hydrant, there's kind of 3 fittings on 3 of the sides of the hydrant. It has a wrench and 3 things to put on them, and that's how we attach our hose to the hydrant. So there's a little valve on it. Roof saw, chainsaw, another shovel, and then if Phil comes a little bit closer, a small section of that same 4-inch hose, about 25 to 50 feet long, that we use to hook between the hydrant and the truck. If we're too close to use a 100-foot length off the hose bed, we're still too far away to really hook in with like a hard suction hose. Up top here we have a couple of ladders. In front is a 24-foot extension ladder placed on the ground, used to get like to a second or third floor window or to a roof. And behind is a special roof ladder. It's about as long as this truck, so about 10 or 12 feet. And it's got a couple of hooks that kind of fold out. And if we have a chimney fire or we have to do any kind of work on a roof, we can put that ladder on the roof, help us climb, and also is a kind of a secure surface while we're working on the roof. This object here is also known as an attic ladder. It kind of folds almost like an accordion or a pair of scissors, and get us into tight spaces in houses where we couldn't take a traditional ladder in. So as we move forward, the last little compartment we have, just kind of a catch-all compartment. Something new we're doing because of cancer awareness, and now because of the potential for coronavirus exposure in people's houses, because not every house we go to is on fire. We're carrying spare turnout gear bags, so if we get exposed to something after a fire, after an incident, we can safely put our gear in the bags, so we're not handling it, contaminated gear, until we can get it to wash. Smaller version of that vent fan in the rear of the truck, and then just some various tarps. The other side of the pump panel, we can attach another large hose into the intake. It's kind of the other side of the intake of the pump, and another discharge. We can manually hook a hose to it. On the other side of our pre-connects, we try to set up our pre-connect hoses so we can pull one off one side, one off the other, depending on how we pull up to an incident. You guys already saw the inside of the rear of the cab. It's kind of, you walk through from one side to the other in a sense. And then last but not least is what we call either the passenger or the officer's seat. The officer who's riding on the truck for the day, be it a lieutenant, or for a call, be it a lieutenant or a captain, this is where they ride, so when they're pulling up to an incident, they can really get a good view through the windshield of what's going on and come up with their action plan of what they want to do and direct their guys in the back of the truck. That about covers it. Thank you guys for watching today, and thanks for bearing with us while we had a brief departure. Again, highlights how unpredictable the nature of our job is. Thank you guys. We'll hope to